Welcome in and welcome back to Minecraft. Last week, I was on a little bit of a vacation. My partner had the week off, so I decided to take a little bit of extra time to spend with them. This week, I'm back in Minecraft and I would like to get started with something different. I would like to start making an attempt at planning things out so I know where I'm going in the future with what I'm building. There are a lot of things that I have that I would like to do, and I've made a list that we can go over of things that I would like to figure out. So here is that list. I would like to make a permanent stables. The one that I have now is very temporary. I would like to have a chicken coop, a sheep pen, a pig pen. I'd like to have an area for pumpkin and melons to grow. I'd like to make a fairly large wheat field if possible. I would like to have some form of cactus farm. I want to get the bees set up so that I can have honey and honeycomb. I need an area to reliably grow bamboo. I really need to finish up the nether portal area that I started progress on in the last episode. I haven't forgotten that I have trial ruins that I'd like to go dig up. And last but not least, I would like to find a guardian temple and do an elder guardian fight. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get all of these things done in one day or in one episode, but I would like to start making plans for some of these things. Where are some of these things going to go? What type of farm do I want for these things, etc. I just kind of want to have a little bit of a plan. I'm the kind of person that if I don't write things down, I will forget about them. So, the purpose of today's episode is not only to write them down, but to do a little bit of planning so I don't forget. Because there's plenty of things that I thought about earlier on that I can't quite remember exactly what I was going to do by now. So, I want to do something that kind of changes that and helps me plan a little bit in the future. So over here, this was the temporary stables that I made early on once I got the camel and the donkey. This isn't supposed to stay here. This was just so that they weren't in the middle of a field and it didn't look kind of weird and not very good in front of the main base. I would like to get these guys moved so that I can make this path here continue along. I'm not sure what I want to add over here quite yet. I'm going to be thinking about that in this episode. But eventually, I know I'd like to go quite a ways down here so that I can connect over there. There's a village there, and I think maybe a bridge right here to get across to that village would be a really good idea, because eventually I would like to work with those villagers. So once we move this stable over here, maybe making a path would also be a good idea. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some kind of building blocks and maybe some signs as well to kind of mark off what my plan over here is and put some labels down. Let me get some supplies for that. I've picked up some supplies so that I can start to label things. For now, I'm just going to be using oak because I have a lot of it from clearing this area out of all of the trees. And then later on, if I want to get fancy, I could switch it to something else. So over here, we know that I want to get rid of the temporary stable. Okay? Additionally, I also want to extend this path. And then I'm going to mark this with a torch as well. And then down here, and I'll probably just go like this so I know. I'm going to probably bring the path somewhere around here just for my sake. And then here, I'm going to put the plan for the bridge. I want there to be a bridge to the village. Okay, and then we'll put another torch on this as well so that I can find it. Might add some torches here so it's a little bit lit up. Over on this side, we've talked about putting a tree here, and I still want to do that. So I'm going to mark this as a location for a tree and maybe a swing set or a bench. Just somewhere nice to sit over here, I think would be good. I think that would be a great place for that. And then, since over there we're going to be getting rid of that temporary stable, we need a new location for a new stable. And I was thinking, since this area felt really plain, why don't we extend the path here to a new stable? So just a little ways from this marker here. I'm thinking just right up here, not too far in. And I'm thinking we might keep some of the denseness of this trees and maybe put the stable right around here, depending on size. I'll have to maybe clear it out, flatten it out a little bit, but I think this might be a good place for the stable. Over on this side, I've always realized this looks slightly out of place, and I want it to look a little bit more in place. So I was thinking of making more of these rings near this so that this looks more like a ruined area that we just built next to. I'm thinking maybe we could put one somewhat over here that could maybe be smaller than this one. And maybe this one could have maybe the melons in it or something like that. I think that would be pretty useful. Let's see if I can do that. Bam. Okay, so maybe this will be the pumpkin and melon ruins. We'll call them ruins. That might be a good place for those to go. And then perhaps on this side, we could do a small, like a even smaller one that will have cactus. So let's see, that one's a little bit further out. Maybe we'll do this one, maybe around here somewhere. Okay. So let's see what we have in the book that I've at least marked down, because now I can't remember what all I put in there. Okay, so we have a place for the stables, so I'm going to put a plus sign there. Let's see, we have a place for the pumpkin and melons. We have a place for the cactus. Okay. I've also maybe should add in that we've added an idea for a bridge. Bridge to village. There we go. So we still got a lot to plan for. I think some of these things, though, could potentially go in the base because we have our mine that goes all the way down. And I think some of these ideas can go in there. The top of our mine shaft starts with storage and the enchanting setup. And then when we go down here, we have a rudimentary forge area as well as a brewing area. But the further down we go, we don't have anything set up yet. I think we'll try to plan for something to go here and something to go here. So what do we have that would go good down here? I don't really want to put any of the animals down here or the wheat field. I'm kind of thinking that maybe the honey and honeycomb and the bamboo could go down here because I don't really feel like those particularly fit in the area that I'm building above. I think that making an area for the bees might be a little out of place near a mining area and a ruins, so those might be better down here for right now. And then the bamboo is not necessarily going to look right in this biome, so those might be good for doing underground. Let's have this be honey and honeycomb. And we'll plan to have this one be the bamboo. Most of the farms that I'm making will still be manual farms for now. Eventually, I'll try to figure out what I'm doing with automated farms, but for now, these will do. In between episodes, one of the things that I did was I made an area for bubble columns to drop down into the skeleton farm. So now we can go straight down into the skeleton farm. I also improved this using bubble columns so that they'll go up and then take a little bit of damage. Doesn't do a crazy amount of damage yet, but for now this is going to work. So I did update this a little bit and it seems to be working better. I put the moss carpet on here and everything like that as well so that the XP isn't getting stuck in the hopper. I've done a tiny bit of work on this, so I've gotten a little bit more arrows and bones. We don't necessarily need the arrows at the moment because we have infinity on our bow, But we've got that done. And now that I've gotten that set up, I don't have to run through here every single time to get down here, which makes it a lot faster to get XP. So that's really good. But the reason I brought you guys over here isn't so that we could do farming. It's because this is kind of an eyesore up here. This is kind of just some pillars out in the middle of the water, and I'm going to need to make this look better. So I'm going to add this to the planning list as well. Okay, so I've added skeleton spawner to the sheet here, and this will let me know that I need to cover this in some way. I have no idea what I want to do, but it is something that needs to be worked on because this kind of looks terrible. And over here is where we have our nether portal. I do have an idea for what I want to do to this area. I've talked a little bit about it in the previous episode, but one of the major things is that I am going to need to go back to the nether to be able to complete my idea here. Until I'm ready to go back to the nether, the thing I can work on is disconnecting these areas and just kind of cleaning this up. I will need this dirt for other projects, so I can work on that in the meantime. And I think I do want to mark it off so that I know what I'm doing over here. So this is going to be the nether portal. It's nether portal island. And then over here, I'm going to put a marker to remind me that I want to disconnect these islands. I don't know why disconnect looks like it's spelt wrong. It might be spelt wrong. So over at this farm, we've got our cows, and I'm thinking I might want to keep maybe the pigs kind of next to them, maybe over here. I can branch this out up here. So this might be a good place for the pig pen. And then perhaps a little further down from there might be a good place for the chicken coop. Something right here, maybe. And that gives me the ability to start making a path that will connect. And then, of course, this one will go back down this way. So something like that. These will all kind of connect together. And then I don't really need to mark them, but I'll do like a something that connects here. Probably a path, but maybe even like a little walkway if it's too far out and it doesn't connect via water. Same with the one that's over here. I'll probably end up doing like maybe a rickety pathway that kind of leads to it, or possibly even something that you have to like climb up here to walk across to get over there rather than something straight out. That might be kind of cool if they were kind of connected with like rickety little platforms. That'd be cool. So we've got the chicken and the pigs kind of planned out. I'm still not sure about the sheep. And the reason I'm not sure about the sheep is because I do want to get all of the different colors of wool. And I'm not sure I want a normal sheep pen out here because that sounds like a lot of work to constantly be trying to collect. I think the sheep might be one that goes downstairs, if I'm honest. This might end up being maybe a double type of thing. Maybe somewhere over here I put like a smaller sheep pen, maybe even close to the bridge over here. And then maybe underground I plan for a wool farm that will actually get me all of the colors. So this turns into swamp. Do we want the sheep off in the swampy area? I'm thinking maybe I want the sheep more like right here. Kind of in between these biomes, or maybe here. A little bit further away from the swamp biome, so it only kind of touches. I'll have to fill this in a little bit, but I think maybe we'll try to plan to put the sheep here. So these will be like the basic, like white and brown and grays, and black sheep will go up here, and these will be the ones that I mostly harvest for like food if I need it. And then I'm thinking underground, that'll probably be where I want to make an actual sheep shearing area for each one of the sheep so that I can get all of the colors. So just past these two that we planned out, we're going to put the sheep down here. Thinking this will be we'll put wool farm. I think that would be a good place for that, because I do want all those colors. and I don't want to have to constantly be dyeing my sheep upstairs. So that'll probably be maybe like a really, really simple redstone farm if I can figure it out on my own. I kind of know what the concept of making a wool farm is, but I've never actually done it. So I'll have to see what that kind of entails. I might have to look a few things up to try to figure it out if I'm getting confused, but that might be maybe the first kind of redstone project that I give a shot since I don't really know redstone. Okay, so I think I've had an idea for a wheat farm. I'm thinking that maybe I actually raise this up a little bit, the terraforming. Maybe make like a stone kind of retaining wall here, and then maybe up on a higher plateau, I put the wheat field up here, maybe with some like fencing and maybe a couple of trees or something like that. But I think maybe up here and kind of along this whole ridge kind of area might be a good idea. And maybe there could be a path that leads from here up over on this side. So something like maybe, oops, something like this, maybe. And then up here would be like the wheat farm, and it could stretch as far as I need it to. So we'll mark that as like, this is gonna be the wheat farm. I can type, I swear. So I think that might be a good idea. And then over here, I think I might just mark this off like so, as needing a like stone wall retainer. I think that'll be good. And then I'll just kind of like mark. So there's that one. And then further over here, I'm kind of going to know that this is going to be more of the wheat field. And I think it could also kind of connect to the stable over here. So there could end up being like a pathway from the stable that kind of goes, you know, into the wheat field. And I'm going to try to leave at least some of these trees. I might regrow them exactly where I want. I might try my hand at building them if I'm not too nervous about building them, something like that. But we'll keep some kind of like a barrier between the stone area over here and then the stable up here. So the only other thing that I really can do planning wise today is the skeleton spawner. And that one I'm just really not sure. What I need to do is I need to plan what I'm going to put over that area. And man, I have no idea. So it's right there. It's near the nether portal. So I feel like maybe it should be nether inspired. It might need to wait until I have finished gathering the stuff that I need from the nether and at least made progress on the nether portal island. That might kind of help inspire me from there to decide what should go there. I'm not quite sure. That planning might have to hold off to a different episode. Now that all of that planning is done, I want to start getting work done with some of these projects. And I think the easiest one to get done is to separate these islands so that I can see exactly what I'm working with and get a better idea of how many resources I'm going to need for the nether portal island itself. So here is my current progress. I have at least disconnected the islands. I still want to kind of make this more of a trench. So I'm going to need to dig out more of that. But this little tiny chunk of island is brought down now as well. So now it's more of an island rather than just a landmass that's sticking off from that landmass. I will want to terraform this as well. I'm thinking like bringing this part down a little bit, like right here. Stuff like that. I'll know more when I actually start building this part because I'm going to be replacing all of this, all of these grass blocks. They're not going to be grass when I'm done. So let me continue some work over here. It's probably not going to end up perfect, but I want the concept of my plan to kind of be in place so that I know what I'm doing later. Here is the final bit of progress that I'm going to be doing on this today. I dug it down a couple more layers so that it looks a little bit more natural and it's not just super flat. There's obviously some areas that I still need to work on, but I don't even have aqua affinity on my helmet, and so it's kind of a pain in the butt for right now. So I think I'm going to wait to do any more terraforming underwater until I have maybe aqua affinity, respiration, and then maybe a conduit, question mark. I'm not quite sure if I'll wait for a conduit, but we'll see. I did a little bit of work here too. I flattened this area off and I've dug this part in. Might give a little bit of an idea of what I'm planning on doing here. I'm not quite sure, but for this, I'm not sure I'm ready to go back into the nether just yet because I do need quite a bit from there before I can proceed with working on this island. But at least we've gotten one task done. I'm pretty happy with the way that that came out and how that looks, and that it's not the same island anymore. That's really cool. There's always the possibility that I take that even further back in the future, but for now, I'm happy with how it is. I might leave it like that in case I ever want to bridge across to something else. I have no idea what the future holds for this little chunk of land, so we will have to see. But for now, I'm going to go clean my inventory because it's full of stuff, and then I'll figure out what I want to do next. So I was having a little bit of a think about what I want to do next, and I think I want to start the wheat farm. Mainly because if I want to keep breeding the cows and everything like that, I'm going to need a wheat. And if I want to breed chickens, I'm going to need the seeds. So I feel like this is a pretty good place to probably get started on that. I can also still technically connect it from over here, even though I haven't moved this yet. And it'll give me a clear shot over to the stable area, which maybe I could work on next episode or the episode after that. So overall, it feels like it would be a really good choice to start chopping down some trees and see how I want this wheat field to look. I've cleared out the area that we're going to be working with. I've left some of the trees on this side and this big tree in the middle because I like it. I think I might want to like maybe tweak it a little bit so it looks a little bit more fluffy instead of square, but I think I want to keep that there. And then this leads over to the stables. So this is kind of the area that I'm going to work with for the wheat field. I think that's a really good area. It's quite large. I'm going to change the terrain a bit because right now it's kind of messy and all over the place. But I think the first thing I wanted to do was kind of plan out where I want the retaining wall, which now that I'm thinking about it means I do need to remove these because they will be in the way of the retaining wall. So that one and this one's got to go. Okay, but I'm thinking of kind of planning out where I want this. And I'm thinking maybe starting here. And I might follow this a little bit. Let's see. I'm kind of trying to plan this the way I would plan terrain, where I kind of look at how the line is feeling. I'm not quite sure how to explain the way that I try to level out the terrain and make sure the terrain isn't looking like too sharp or anything. Like to me, this looks wrong. Like it looks like maybe that should go there and then like that. It just looks too sharp. I'm not sure if that's because I have like a little bit of experience in doing like pixel art or something. Not sure if that's what that's from or not. Yeah, that's looking about right so far. I'm gonna sleep and let these leaves decay and then we'll continue. Now that that's kind of out of the way. I don't want the wall to just be a completely straight line, which is why I'm kind of giving it a little bit of a bend here. Maybe to about there. So like this kind of a curve, and about there it'll kind of maybe get lower and this will be more of a regular terrain, perhaps? I'm not quite sure yet. The other thing I'm thinking is how do I want this wall to look? I'm kind of thinking I want the cobble at the bottom, and then it might go up into regular stone and then maybe andesite, perhaps, just so that it has a little bit of a gradient. So I'm going to go get some of those. Here is the very rough foundation of this. I'm going to start adding other stones and also raise it a little bit. I'm thinking I'm going to raise it maybe 2 more. I also grabbed some mossy cobble that I can fit in as well. So I'm going to try to add some of that and kind of texture this up and raise it up a little bit before I start kind of layering it over with dirt. So I've gotten started, but I feel like 4 is too high. So I'm going to knock that one down because that just seems a little ridiculous next to the house. You can always add a little bit of variation with some slabs and stuff, but I think that 4 is way too high. So I'm gonna do that. I think that would be high enough. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Could get a little bit higher more towards this side, but over here by the house, that kind of just looks a little bit silly. Here's how the retaining wall is looking. I think that's pretty good and textured. I definitely want to butt some of these things up against the wall, maybe some bushes and firefly bushes, maybe some flowers, maybe some vines would even be a decent idea, but just something to kind of add it a little bit more detail. And then I also want to add maybe a couple of slabs as well so that it kind of doesn't look perfectly, perfectly freshly made. So I want it to look maybe a little bit like it's fallen apart in areas, stuff like that. I could even add maybe the occasional like staircase or something to give the idea that it's kind of broken up a little bit. Let me get some more stuff for that and we'll continue texturing. Okay, I think that little bit of extra texturing really helps quite a bit, given a little less uniformity. I want to next add a little bit of a difference up here, probably with some slabs, just so that that looks a little bit different too. And then I can start kind of bringing the grass forward so that we have more of a flat land for our wheat. There we go. That adds quite a bit, I think. Next, I'm going to add the dirt, and I want to make this area here kind of lead up almost like a staircase so that the path can lead up. And then the front section I want to be all kind of flat, but I want it to kind of layer up as it goes so that all of the wheat isn't just on one solid flat plane. I want it to be a little bit more layered than that. So let me get all my dirt and my grass blocks and see what kind of progress I can make on that. I added a little bit of fence posts and I have the grass set up over here now. So now it's a flat plane that I can put all of the wheat on, and then it goes quite far back now into this little nook area. I could maybe put something cute back here, maybe a well, perhaps. That might be a good idea, but I'm pretty happy with how much room we have for wheat. I'm probably going to extend the path all the way through the middle here in some way, so that way it kind of splits the wheat field into 2. And I'm also not going to put the wheat all the way butted up against the stone wall. I'm probably going to leave a little bit of room around it. So it's not going to be 100% like a huge wheat field here. I want it to look a little bit more meticulous, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. I want it to look like it's placed more intentionally and not just growing out of control. So let me start getting, I think, the path in place. So I'm kind of thinking I'll probably go up this way and maybe keep it kind of around this path here. Might bulk this out just a little bit more so that we can go kind of around the tree and kind of follow this little area here like that. So do I have any extra? I do. So I'm thinking maybe like this. Let's see. How does that feel? Let's start at the beginning and see how that feels as a path. Okay, so we're going this way. We go up. We're going in and around. Yeah, I think that feels good for a path. Obviously, it's very sporadic and not super good yet, but I think that feels pretty good for what I'm going to want. And I think for now, I'll just leave it right at this block here on this side because I don't fully know what, which direction or how I want to move it for when I get the stables in. Okay, so I thickened it. Let's walk through it, see how we're feeling. I'll fix that hole over there later. There's like a hole at the base area there. I'll fix that when I add stairs. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty decent. I think that feels pretty good. I kind of wish this was a little bit different here, if I'm honest. So what I might do is maybe that. And then something like that, and then bring this out. Is that too straight for too long? A little bit, actually. So maybe what I'll do, kind of bring this out intentionally here and pop that in there. Yeah, that feels much better. Now it's not right inside of the, right touching the tree. I didn't like that. So next, so I saw this, so we're gonna fix that. Next I'm gonna want stairs. So I think I'm just gonna do oak stairs. I'm pretty sure that's what I have over there. I'm gonna get some stairs put in next. And then I think I'll start getting the wheat ready. I'm gonna have to do a lot of bone mealing on the wheat because I don't have a crazy amount of these, so I feel like I might have to do some bone mealing, but I've been composting the leaf litter as I've been going, so that'll really help, I think. Okay, I'm finally happy with the path. I've got the stairs, so you can go straight up and in. I think that looks much better. After finishing the texturing of the path, I decided maybe it's not going to be the most fun to watch wheat grow. So I went ahead and continued work up here, adding the wheat fields in. Right now, they're pretty uniformic. I'm considering maybe adding a little bit more of these interspersed in. That might make harvesting a little bit more difficult though, so I'm not quite sure. I may end up leaving it like that. I've added light posts and I found a wolf wandering around, so I went ahead and fastened him to this pole so that maybe we could tame him later on. I thought that would be really cool. I've added some glow lichen around the area just to keep it lit up at night. And I've also added some torches that are hidden under moss. You can see one there. I fluffed up this tree a little bit. I just removed a few blocks and added a few blocks just so it looked a little bit less square. I did the full log blocks, the ones that don't have the end pieces on them, just so that that looked a little bit better as well. I think it's a good attempt for my first tree, really. Obviously, I didn't build it myself, but it kind of gives me an idea of what I would like going forward. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then over here, I went ahead and I added a little tiny well. Probably only took me 5 minutes to build, but I think it's a good place to get water should I ever need it again. Pretty happy with that as well. Just a tiny little place, a little POI. I think that's pretty good. And of course, the path continues over here to where we're going to have stables eventually, and I think that'll be really nice. The last thing that I added was down here along the retaining wall. I added a small tree. I'm not sure how much I feel about it. This one I built entirely myself. It's really small, so I'm not quite sure I love the scale. I think maybe I could have done something different. I'm just not quite sure what yet. I'll have to really work on something like this and think about it more in the future. But I also added some bushes and stuff near the area so that the wall didn't just have like an emptiness right next to it. I think that added a lot to it. I'm pretty happy with that. While I was waiting for all of this to grow, I did do a few things in the meantime, including some fishing, and I got really lucky while I was over here. So, not only did I find a nautilus shell, but I also found a power 4 mending bow and a flame bow, and I found this fishing rod, which is absolutely crazy. It's just off on Look at the Sea and Lure, I think. I think those only need to go up one level, but everything else is pretty much perfect, so I'm really happy with that. And with that is how I found all of this. I think that definitely helped. It's speeding up fishing. And with this Nautilus shell, I think I only need 2 more to be able to start making the conduit. Obviously, I'll still need to go to the Guardian Temple to be able to finish that, but it's a good start, and I'm happy with that. I did one other thing, and that's down here in the basement. Let's head down. So down here, you can see this is the bamboo area, and I've dug out quite a large hole. Obviously, this is not just going to be for bamboo. I don't need this big of an area for bamboo. I'm going to also plant trees here so that I can farm wood while I'm indoors and I'm safe and I don't have to damage any of the work that I've done up there or clear out an extra area just to gather wood. So this will be used for that. I think in between episodes, I will probably try to finish this off because a lot of this mining area ends up being the same each time, and I feel like that might be kind of boring to watch. So it'll probably be more fun just to see the reveal of what this big kind of boxy room becomes because I do have an idea for it that I'm hoping looks cool. Some of it might change as I go. We will see. But hopefully that'll be a fun reveal for the next episode. And I think with that, that's going to be the end of our episode this week. We've done quite a bit of planning and quite a bit of work. I'm very happy with everything that we've gotten done, and now I feel like we have more of a direction to go in the future. We have lots of little projects set up that we can work on whenever we have a moment or whenever we're unsure about what to do next. We've got all of these little pillars set up so that we can go look at them and see what we need to do next. And of course, we've got plenty of other projects that I haven't thought of yet that could probably get made as well. Things like figuring out what I want to do to close off this skeleton spawner so it's not just an ugly pillar in the middle of the water. All of that will have to wait for the future. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you guys had a good time building the wheat farm with me, as well as separating the islands over there and making all of our plans. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.